My sister and I don't get along. I can be honest and admit that she's much prettier than me, and that's something she's never let me forget. Unfortunately, both of my parents are pretty shallow, and they've always given her the best and put her first. I.e., if we both had a school event at the same time, they'd both go to hers. This has left me pretty bitter and distant from my family. My boyfriend of 5 years recently proposed, and I was super over the moon. And straight out of a bad rom-com script, my sister got engaged right afterward. It didn't really faze me other than serving as a slight nuisance since my parents were more happy and involved with her engagement. My mom's been helping her plan but couldn't help me because my sister needed more help, and she couldn't devote me the time I deserved. Don't feel bad for me though, because my mother-in-law is a godsend and super sweet and genuinely treats me with enormous love. My sister told me that she booked her wedding at my dream venue, which pushed me over the edge. I know it sounds so annoying and cheesy, but I really cared about this location. It was sentimental to me. My parents got married there, and I've talked about wanting to get married there as far back as high school when I was just daydreaming. I know my sister doesn't care about my grandparents, but my parents told me to stop being so petty when I brought it up. In a fit of actual pettiness, I booked the same venue a month before my sister's wedding so I could get married there first. I checked with the venue, and there's no way my sister can move the wedding up. They're booked up, and if she changes venues, she'll lose her deposit. My mother recently reached out to me and implored me to talk to my sister. I blocked her after the first call. She tried to scream me out. Apparently, my sister's really distraught, and my mom said the least I could do was try and work something out with my sister, especially over such a huge event. I said no, but my mom said I was an idiot for not even trying to hear her out and for being so stubborn and petty. I know my mom's bias, but it got me thinking because I've been pretty staunch about ignoring her calls, and some of my cousins have told me that she seems genuinely upset. I'm not sure whether I was right or if I'm being a giant idiot by being so stubborn. I wonder if I'm being the idiot for ignoring my sister, not really for booking the venue. My sister flat out told my cousin that she couldn't care less about the venue and booked it because it was convenient. But suddenly, when I wanted to get married there, it meant the world to her. I think not. My grandparents practically raised me since my parents always missed out on my life events, so it was Grandma and Grandpa who came to support me. I was always going to get married there one way or another. Not the idiot. I see how you would be wrong to book the venue once you knew she had, but you booked your venue first. She knew you wanted to get married there, so why would she book it in the first place? She seems very self-involved and your parents are encouraging her. If I were you, I'd just cut my losses. Don't engage with your sister anymore. Why would you give up your dream for someone, let alone someone you don't even like? OP, make sure the venue and your caterer, photographer, DJ, florist and everyone you hire has a code word in place to confirm you and your fiancé's identity in case your sister or mom decides to pretend to be you and calls up and cancels the venue or something else on you. Make it something they would never guess in 1,000 years. OP, you were going to book that wedding venue anyway. Sure, you booked the earlier date out of spite, but I find it hard to believe your sister wasn't doing the same. This deserves a justified pettiness award. Princess Godchild and her entourage can stuff it. P.S. OP should hire security just in case. Everyone's the idiot here. Seriously, is this how you want to remember your wedding? Do you really want to drag your future husband, his family, and your friends into this mess? Your sister is selfish and your mother favors her. That's really sad, and I get that you're hurt and annoyed, but it seems so sad that you and your sister are so focused on your rivalry that you just seem to forget your partners and the goal of your marriages, which is to create a new family with your spouse. My 18 female father, 43, and his partner, 40 female, have just had their first baby together, my half-sister. My dad's partner has been on the scene since I was 2. My dad cheated on my mum with his now partner and then left my mum for her. His partner has always given me a hard time, saying mean things and pretending that they're jokes, particularly when my dad isn't there. For example, I always make her and my dad a coffee in the mornings when I stay with them, and she'll say to people while I'm standing right there how bad I am at making coffee or joke that her tween niece is better at doing it than me, that sort of thing. Anyway, I used to stay at their house one night a week, but a couple of years ago they moved 3 hours away from where I live with my mum and go to school, uni, etc. I've been excited about the baby, so I went and stayed with my dad while his partner and the baby were still in hospital after the birth. I did a grocery shop and got the house nice before they came home. My dad has issues and is pretty useless at anything like that. Given that they lived too far away for me to drop in regularly, I planned to stay for a week once partner and baby came home. I took time off from my part-time job, etc. I figured I could cook and do housework and run errands for them and stuff, so my dad and his partner could focus on bonding with the baby. Anyway, when his partner and the baby were meant to come home, my dad told me that they wanted it to be just family, i.e. my dad, his partner and the baby, and that I needed to go home. Now, I'm like 99% sure this is coming from his partner. I don't think my dad would care if I was there. I lost it, crying and yelling at my dad, and asked my dad if this had happened a year ago, and he'd somehow had full custody of me at the time, and if he would have just turned me out to make room for the baby. He said, of course not, and backtracked quickly and said I could stay, but I was really upset then and said no. I went into my room and stayed there, even after the baby and partner came home, and then I left the next morning. My dad and his partner are angry at me for throwing a tantrum and leaving and making it about me when they're trying to focus on the new baby. I was upset and told my friend's mum about it, and she said I was being an idiot to make such a big deal over it, as I'm technically an adult, I'm nearly 19, and it's fair enough that my dad's partner just wanted to be with him and the baby. The whole thing has made me feel like crap. Am I the idiot? Edit. Me being there and prepping the house was planned ages in advance. It was my idea, but they agreed and knew I had to take time off from the restaurant where I work, etc. Then they changed their minds and said they just wanted it to be family. Not the idiot. You were trying to do something nice for your dad and his mistress. You call her the partner, but I'll call it like it is, lol. You were basically told, you're not family, with the statement that we only want family here. Sorry, OP, your dad wants to start over, and apparently that's not with the child of the woman he cheated on. You were planning to be there to help with the baby. You prepared the house and did the grocery shop. Yes, you're an adult, but that doesn't make you any less his daughter. And it totally sounds like they waited for a baby until you were old enough to be out of the house. It's possible your stepmom has wanted to push you out for some time. She doesn't consider you family, despite knowing you since you were a child. I wouldn't blame you if you went low contact with them, especially when the baby starts getting bigger, and then stepmom is going to need a free sitter and guilt you into doing it for family. Those two don't deserve you, and they made it clear you're not family. You sound like a great person. Use your energy on people who treat you well. Definitely, you are the idiot for acting like this and making it about you. New mamas need their privacy, and they need to figure out so many new things after delivery. They're in a ton of pain and discomfort, hormones are through the roof, etc. The last thing they need is someone uninvited to be hovering around. You meant to be there out of good intentions, but it was a bit short-sighted. People don't want their mothers-in-law around or siblings, etc. until they're mentally and physically more able to handle company. I'm 100% being petty here, but curious if I'm actually wrong. Most of my husband's family think I'm being childish and need to let the past go, as my sister-in-law can't afford this, but her behaviour towards us in the past makes me feel this is warranted. 2 years ago, my house burnt to the ground after being struck by lightning. Thankfully, it was during the day, so our 3 kids were at school and my husband and I were at work. We lost everything, but we were safe. Unfortunately, it took almost 11 months for the insurance to pay out. The insurance covered a month's worth of hotel stays, but after that we were made to fend for ourselves, and the only option we had was to move in with my sister-in-law. She tells us that we can have her spare room and her office space, since she used neither of the rooms, and her stipulations were we needed to purchase all of our own food and pay her $100 a week. Of course, by week 3, all of that changed. She then decides we need to pay her $250 a week, and we can only use 1 room. So all 5 of us were crammed into the smallest room she had, which was the size of a glorified closet space and didn't even fit a twin bed and a small dresser. So we lived out of trash bags and slept on the floor for close to $1,000 a month, some months, and still had to purchase all of our food, despite her claiming my children on her food stamps. She also had no bills outside of her land tax, $450 a year, and electric and heating oil, which she hardly ever filled. So we were essentially paying her so she could do leisure activities. It was the worst 8 months of my life. 3 months ago, my grandmother decided that she wanted to go to assisted living after a fall and transferred the deed of her house to me and basically said it was mine now. It is a 5-bedroom farmhouse. My boys insist on sharing a room, so we have 2 extra bedrooms. My sister-in-law lost her house last month due to not paying her land tax for several years and asked if she and her stepdaughter could stay with us until they get enough money to move down south. I said sure, 1 bedroom, $800 a month, and you have to buy and cook all your food separately because my daughter is vegan. She looked at me like I had 10 heads and said that she and her stepdaughter should not be made to share a room when there are 2 extra rooms, and stated she could not afford a rent of $800 while purchasing all of her own food on top of it. I said neither could we, but we managed to cram 5 people into a glorified closet space while you were getting $1,000 and food stamps. Take it or leave it. She decided to leave. Again, I'm being told I'm childish. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. It's $250 a month for the room and $750 a month for you having to see her stupid face every day. You're giving her an 80% discount on the rent because she's family. Wow, you simply treated your sister-in-law how she treated you. Not worse, not better. If she thinks it's unfair, then it shows she knew what she did was wrong first. Screw anyone who says you should accommodate. Best thing ever that she left. Enjoy your farmhouse. And if she wouldn't pay land tax to keep her house, there was no way she'd actually pay rent to you. I'd argue it's neither childish nor petty. People who abuse the misfortune of others for their own gain are never going to grasp the magnitude of what they've done until they've been forced to make similar choices. In this case, I'd wager the sister-in-law still won't understand, but trying to make her understand is reasonable and responsible. So I, 23 female, am Native American. I don't look it. I have a white biological father and my bio dad is not my sibling's father. My siblings, mom, grandparents and the person I call my father are Native and they look it. My skin color is rather pale because of bio dad's genes, and for a long time I was really self-conscious about it, with many people not believing my heritage or telling me to prove that I'm Native. As I've grown and gotten more in touch with my roots, I claim my heritage. And I know that genetics being weird are not indicative of my true self, that blood quantum is an outdated and stupid ideal, etc. And I speak openly about who I am, ignoring the haters. Recently, a man came into my work who was obviously another native man and told me that I had beautiful features and looked like I had native blood. I almost cried. It isn't often that someone looks past my skin color and notices my features, and it really made me feel validated. We talked about cultural stuff for a little bit while I rang up his items, and when he left, I couldn't stop smiling. Then I noticed my co-worker looking super uncomfortable. I asked them what was wrong, and they said, "Well, it just makes me uncomfortable to hear about your supposed heritage." I asked them what they meant, and they said, "There's no reason to talk about that stuff at work, and it makes me uncomfortable to hear about because I don't have anything like that to talk about, so it's unfair too. You get to pretend you're special, and it's annoying. You look white, just accept it and stop trying to be special all the time." I got really mad at them and said that just because they weren't connected to their roots didn't mean I couldn't be proud of mine, and that maybe they should look into their ancestors and see if they could find something cool. They might be Irish or East European or Scandinavian or something, and those cultures have rich historical backgrounds, which they could learn about, and then they could have something to talk about too. They got really mad at me and said that I should stop talking about it, and they called me a jerk for acting like I was better than them. I don't think I do act like I'm better. If they could connect with someone and talk about their heritage, I would be so happy for them. Am I really the idiot? Not the idiot at all. I'm white and white people are boring. Stop being different and interesting and just be white and boring like me so I don't feel bad. It's some weird mental gymnastics that this person is going through. Embrace your heritage and culture, and don't feel bad about your co-workers' monumental insecurities. You absolutely do not have to tone yourself down, so be you always, whatever that may be. Your co-worker could choose to look at their ancestry with happiness instead of being as jealous as they seem of your beautiful history. I think you should open this up to your boss's management, because they've indeed been polite before. Still, now the bigot Pandora's box has been opened, and that insecurity that lives within them is going to be at the forefront of their behavior with you from now on, unless they somehow have a miraculous intervention. It would be best to talk about it with the higher-ups now in case something happens again. My mom died when I was a little kid, and my dad got remarried 5 years later. My stepmom has always been really great. She married a guy with young kids, but never tried to take over or place herself into the family where my mom once was. She created a new slot, a different slot, and made it work. But my dad's parents have always been pretty old school in their thinking. They used to see it as disrespectful that we called our mom Jean or that she didn't adopt us. So my dad and stepmom's wedding was rushed because Jean was pregnant and my dad was due to have surgery on his back. So they did a swift courthouse thing. Fast forward and it's about to be 30 years since they married, and my grandparents are giving her crap. I didn't realize it at the time, but they told her that she should have worn some of my mom's jewelry, made some speech about taking over from her, and tried to lay claim to my mom's life and possessions in some kind of way. They said it would be comforting for us and show how much she respected her mom and appreciated that she was taking over for her. The whole thing is so damn weird and gross. I'm talking about it being weird to both my mom and Jean. I can't imagine my mom would want Dad's second wife taking all the stuff she left behind for herself instead of it being for her kids. But my grandparents essentially wanted her and still want her to become the person our mom was instead of being her own unique person, on a day where she is celebrating her marriage to Dad and not my parents' marriage. So when I heard this being said, and my dad was never aware of what went on, I told them it was creepy to expect her to take over another person's life like that and that it's disgusting to try and bring someone down for not wanting to disrespect someone else's memory. I pointed out that trying to be them, take over and replace them is disrespectful and not some great honor. I also told them that Jean never tried to be our mother because she always knew that she wasn't and never could be. But she could be Jean, and she could be something different but essential to our family. My grandparents are angry. My dad couldn't believe it when he found out. He was so mad at his parents. Other family members are saying I took it all out of context and that I was the one being disrespectful to my grandparents and to Jean. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. 30 years and they're still going on about this. Gross. Women are not interchangeable parts to plug into roles. I'm proud of you for defending Jean. Even though the situation was BS, I bet at that moment she 100% felt that how she approached the situation when she married into your family was exactly perfect because your respect, love and loyalty toward her were genuine. You know, when you read stories like these and you see family members that weren't even present saying, "I took it all out of context" or something along those lines, you know you have a messed up family. Like, geez, you took it all out of context? You weren't even there. So then they say, "We'll apologize to keep the peace." LOL. That's when you start no contact.